Hi, everyone. I told you we'd be back soon to Circle Your Way. And what we're trying to do with Circle Your Way is demystify what exactly is a women's circle? Why are they important? Why would you want to join one? And what is it all about? And is it really all that spiritual? Is it just something? And we just want to go through what it is. So I brought Aliza on with me today, and I met her at the World Religion Parliament, and I was just so in awe of her meditation of how we got into the quantum and just being part of that. And I was like, I know you're a circler. And it was funny hearing that it reminded her that she needed to get back to it as we were talking right before this. So I'm just going to read her intro for us before we get started. Aliza is a transformational catalyst, empowering and inspiring women change their lens of perception and to move into an even deepening self-awareness and spiritual connection. She stands for awakening the individual and the collective. So together we can co-create a world that works for all people. What she loves most about her work is the transformation of her clients as they experience greater experience of health, wealth, and contribution in the world. Through one-on-one sessions, small groups, retreats, and keynote speaking, she helps you release lifelong limitations and pattern and power up possibilities for success in every area of your life. I'm so excited to have you here today, Aliza. And as I was talking before we get started, what I'm going to have to do with each of my guests here is we're going to just start with her coming in and centering us. And so we can hear new ways of how do we get back into our bodies. So take it away, Aliza.
Thank you, Michelle. So yes, let's take a time of centering. So if you're comfortable and safe doing so, close your outer eyes and take a deep breath in. Take another deep breath. And as you exhale, bring your awareness from the outer to the inner. Bring your awareness from your head down to your body. And from your body to your being. You might feel your feet connected to the floor or the ground, and just feel that you are grounded, centered, anchored in the truth of who you be. As you feel your body relax a bit, open your mind. Even more than that, open your heart. We open our heart to each other, Michelle and I, to each of you who are watching or listening. We open our heart in the circle of women, gathering here whenever you watch this, and now. Take a moment. Hearts connected, minds connected, and souls connected. We open this circle with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, and so we begin.
I can feel that in my heart. I just love doing these things because it is really that energy that changes us. And it's when we find our passions that really open up who we are. And that brings me to wanting to do this about circles, is because I felt circles is what opened up my passion. So my first question to you is, how would you even define a woman's circle?
It seems like such a simple question, doesn't it?
It does.
For me, when women gather with the intention of circle, it creates sacred space. Because women gather, you know, we were talking about your kids. I've got a slew, I'll define slew if you want me to, but a slew of grandkids. But when women gather, we know each other, generally speaking, we see each other. There's something that happens when women are conscious. And when we gather consciously, we can call that circle. You can have a circle, you know, meeting on a playground or meeting in a parent-teacher conference or waiting for the soccer practice. But when we use the term circle, for me, I think the biggest definition is that we bring consciousness into our time together. And in the definition, but also in the practice of circle, we bring our full selves, like everything's allowed with the parameters of connection, support, trust, and respect. Like if somebody's having a hard time, all of that's allowed. There's lots of guidelines that we can talk about, but like, we're not there to fix each other. We're here to hold the sacred space. I guess that's another definition that I use for a circle, is it's a sacred space. Whether you're crocheting, drinking margaritas, Bible study, I don't do that one actually, but whatever it is that you're doing, it's a circle is sacred space.
I want to circle to that word sacred space, because I know that might scare some women away from the idea of wanting to even be in circle, because that word sacred might not resonate with them. So how would you address that?
So I would use the word sacred in that it is safe, it is conscious. Like, what just popped into my mind was the Netflix show. Oh, shoot, I just forgot. Never mind. But it's three women who get together. They're three longtime friends, and they get together like every Tuesday night or whatever it is. That's, in essence, can be a circle. There may be nothing spiritual going on there.
Right.
It is their safe space. They have been doing that for years, decades maybe. And when you come together in a circle, it doesn't have to be spiritual. It's certainly not religious necessarily, but it is sacred in that we are honoring each other. We're taking time away from the busyness of our lives to connect heart to heart and soul to soul.
I love that. And I thank you for elaborating on that, because I feel that's why we're here, is to really just demystify this idea of women's circle, but that it's for everyone. That's why it's circle for you, because you creating the circle that works for your soul, for your spirit to come out. And that's why I love when you say, just come as you are, because even if you're in a bad mood or something happened bad or even good, that's the circle's only going to amplify that and help resolve that. I feel like circle is such a medicine in terms of where you're at and what you discover about yourself. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. And circle really is ancient. Some of us think it may be a new concept, but it's very ancient because, back before, way however far back, women gathered. Women gathered for, cooking and wandering in the rivers or whatever, how far back you go, but they gathered. And it is in that gathering that circle happens. Right? Did you ever read the book, The Red Tent?
It's funny though that you say that, because I still haven't read the book, but right before Parliament, I went, 3 different people mentioned the book to me. And then when I was at Parliament, they did so many red tent ceremonies in the process of Parliament that I made sure to go to every single one of them.
Good for you. So you had your own experiences of many different types of circles. Now I know you've been doing circles for a few years or playing with the concept for a few years, but it is that gathering space. Really, that could be another way to put it. It's a gathering place with intention.
Right. Well, I love the idea of the red tent and how it even came about. And maybe you can explain it better than I can.
Well, and I read the book, I don't know, probably 20, 25 years ago. So I don't have the book current in my mind, but being at Parliament and participating in many red tent events, those were the most moving for me. And that's also what reactivated, you and I were talking about this before, reactivated in me the desire to get back to circles, to get back to women's circles. I used to do many circles. I would do like 9-month containers or ongoing circles. I have one circle that's kind of sort of still meeting, but we've gotten away a little bit. So the red tent is the essence of the red tent story, is that there was a red tent in ancient times where women, when they were on their cycle, would gather. And all they would do when they're on their cycle is be together. Now, there was also, women's cycles followed more the moon cycles. We weren't so distracted by everything in life. So it was a real gathering time. But that's where they shared stories. That's where they shared hurts and joys and dreams. And that's where they connected. That really then fed them, my words, right? Fed them, but also then supported their beingness in the greater community. Part of what we see in our world today is we're so isolated. Even though we're on social media all day long, we're so isolated. So that connection, especially women to women, is so important and so vital and so enriching.
Well, I want to take a step back because you said social media right there, and really define both in both of our eyes the word connection. So for me, because when we talk about connection, we're talking about not that superficial. A lot of times that we, especially when I look at the moms I work with, that superficial, what are your kids up to? How are you doing? And you almost want to, like, after too much, you get so used to deep conversations. That Circle does allow for that deeper connection that utterly I long for, and I'm sure lots of women don't realize that that's where that longing comes from, is that deep rooted connection. How do we get that? How do you feel Circle attributes to that?
It creates the space that allows for it and draws it forward. You know, when I very first came into circles, it was probably around 2000. Some levels of it before, but it was very structured as a circle somewhere around that time frame. So we're talking, 23 years ago, almost 24 years ago now. But what we found when we were first gathering, and we had a facilitator who had gone through several circles herself. But the rest of us were brand new to the idea. So it was like this push pull, at least for me, like, yes, I want to be involved. Oh my God, it's so vulnerable. Yes, I want it. No, I guess I want to be seen. No, I don't want to be seen. So there's an easing in, you can create circles that are simply not superficial, but easy. Like you can have a circle around a book study if you wanted to just start, if you wanted to just have a circle. But it is about creating the container for that deeper knowing so that we can bypass the noise and go, really, what's going on? Really, we want to see you and be seen.
I love that so much because especially thinking the women out there who have that longing to, like, have a passion or to figure out where that's coming from. And a lot of times, especially with moms, I find that they let the word busyness get in the way of that. They're like, well, I'm too busy to do any of that, or the kids get all this instead. But really, there is a way to figure that out. And then I feel that for women, you hear about all the self-help books and all of that, but for us, we need to verbalize it to really make it reality. So, all these thoughts going through our head, so we can either get it down on paper or we can verbalize it. And the Circle allows for that verbalization of figuring out who we are.
Yeah. As you were saying that, that's absolutely so very true. And for the busyness of the world, like, what if there was a circle that was just about being? Like, let's not even process our deep thoughts, because for some people that's too big, too much, too deep, too hard, I don't want to go there. But let's just have a circle where an hour a week, right, we gather, and maybe we drink tea, and maybe we paint our toenails. I don't know if that works for everybody. Maybe we simply sit and just say, how are you today?
I love that.
It can be so simple. It can be complicated too, but it can be so simple.
And that's what, I love these different ideas, and that's what this is all about. Because even how I run them for moms is I specifically do it virtually on purpose, because we get out of that time frame of, I don't have time, I don't have the babysitter, I don't have that. No, you have an hour that maybe you put a show on, or whatever it is that you need to do to give yourself time. And we're getting away from that idea that, and I want to simplify what Circle is, as you've been doing, because it's this mystical word that is ancient, right? Even the word sacred, and people get scared by that nowadays. Oh, they're trying to feed this religion to me, they're trying to feed this to me. But really what this is about is a healing to figuring out who we are and what is your individual purpose on this earth. What are your takes on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there, even just a nurturing, just a self-care circle, right? Let's just start there. Let's take this hour as our 1 hour a week where we're the most important thing. It feels selfish to people who are overgivers, but it's the most generous thing that you can do and give to yourself, and then ultimately to your family or your work or the world. Because we are in a time where women, many women in particular, have put ourselves last, at the bottom of the list for everything. I mean, everything. And if we would take an hour a week, or however you do your circles, or however anybody wants to do their circles, to just simply, this is me time. And me time alone is super important, but me time in circle feeds a different part of our minds, our bodies, our souls, our very being, because we're being witnessed at that time.
Let me ask you this question, because so I'm sure there's times when you're like, oh, I don't necessarily feel like going to that circle, or you're in a different mood, but how does circle have ever changed that for you?
Oh, it's changed in many times. A lot of times you're like, I don't want to go. I'm too busy to go. But if you're in circle that's ongoing, you go for the other women, and then you end up being fed, right? Because that's by definition the container of the circle. Is you give when you're full and you receive when you're empty. But mostly if you're just there to connect, just like to look at a woman in your circle, like I'm looking at you right now, and just seeing your eyes and seeing your heart and being seen like that. In life, we so often don't even get seen as people, right? Everybody's objectifying everybody else. But just like, I see you in your celebration, in your dreams, in your struggle, in your sorrow, I see you. And that becomes, the word that almost came out of my mouth was addictive, but in a really good way. It becomes fulfilling and sustaining and nurturing. And if you create that container and the women in your circle are committed to that, then you won't miss it. You won't miss it. Not very often anyway. And that when the days that you're like most don't want to go are the days you'll be most fed. Because that's dynamic of what happens in circle.
I love that so much, but it's so true. It's those feelings in it. And so I love that you're sharing that and expressing that, because I want the women out there that like, what is this concept? I have no idea what it is. And want to pique their curiosity to go out there. And so what would you suggest for someone whose curiosity is now piqued? What would you suggest that they do as their next step?
Call Michelle or call me. Right? You can start with a couple of girlfriends. Like, you can just start. You can create, I would say more than 3, because then you've got more to work with. You build a deeper container. But there's a lot of ways you can do research on how circles are. Listen to these podcasts that Michelle's putting out. Reach out to somebody who's already doing circles. Do a sampler circle. I have a friend in the UK who does samplers of her circles all the time, like every month. She's got sampler, which is just a free experience. Of course, her free experience leads to a 6-week journey, but there's lots of ways to do that. I would also recommend looking up the Red Tent on Amazon, because it's written like a novel, and it's really great. And I don't remember it. And so it's weird that I'm saying it's really great, but it also introduces that women to women piece that our culture, our world is yearning for. What's the quote? Who said, when the world is saved, it'll be a group of women, white-haired women. No.
It was the Dalai. Well, if I wasn't white-haired women, but the Dalai Lama said in 2009 that the Western woman was going to be the one to save the world, and that's actually what led me on this journey. Dr. Bolan interpreting it to be the Million Circle, is that tipping point, is when is us as women gathering in these circles and changing the energy of the world is what's going to change that paradigm, because it's not women versus men, it's energy. And it's us as a masculine energy, is someone being in front of the room saying this is how you should do things, and us all listening. Whereas the circle principle allows us to congregate as equals, all of us equally being seen, heard, and part of the energy of the circle. And so that's the huge shift that I see, and why I even wanted to do this.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm so glad that you said that, because most of my work in the last 5 years or so has been working with leadership teams. And in truth, I create circles in that, but I hadn't had it like, it's not a women's circle, but it's very circle. But it's also, as you're saying that, I'm laying out also the ideas of quantum leadership, because that's what I bring to the world. But quantum leadership is about connection and collaboration and innovation, and all of those things come, or potentially can come, out of circles. So now I'm going to have a really fun time playing with the idea of quantum circles.
Ooh, we're going to have some magic coming out of that. Well,
I
on
can
that
feel
note,
it.
then what would you say to create that safe container and that circle? What are the aspects you think are most important to create that safe space?
Well, first and foremost, it's about creating the safe space. So you asked me how, but I'm just saying that again on purpose. You have to create the safe space that is built over time. So some guidelines or some heart agreements, confidentiality for sure. It's all welcome here, no judgments. Some of the principles that I always bring in circle is, when one woman is talking, let her talk, so you can use a talking stick kind of concept. But the other piece of that is when you let one woman talk, do not fix, do not advise, do not pat or touch or hug, because that actually decreases trust. And if a woman is starting to be in a flow of consciousness or processing of emotion or something, and somebody reaches out and goes, "Oh, Sonny, I'm so sorry." It's like, stop, don't do that. That's like my pet peeve of all things in circle. And then create the agreements. We're going to honor our time. We're going to honor our space. If a woman is got something going on, you can ask the question, would you like input or would you like feedback? And if she says no, thank you, honor that. But it's built, trust is built over time, respect is built over time, but it's helped along if you can create some really nice circle guidelines. And I know the women who did the women's villages at the Parliament had a great guidelines little half page, and you probably have that, but if you don't, I can get you those. But those are some basic and simple agreements that you make in circle that really build the container. The other thing that I do is work inside the concept of container. So I call a container of the circle. And so inside this container, this is how we be, right? And then I use a container if I do a circle, over 9 months or whatever we call the container. We don't dismantle it until the very end. I even work container work when I work one-on-one with people, because then you can touch into it even when you're not in circle, and it builds a field of energy, it builds a frequency, and it builds a really safe space where you actually can feel like you're physically entering into this container, whether you're virtual or in person, it doesn't matter.
That's amazing, because it really is an energy shift, even virtually. Like when you're in the circle and you're sharing with each other, you feel that energy between the women. And that's why it is how you use the word sacred, is it's coming back to the idea of ritual, because I think we've gone away from the importance of all stuff, and we've done things down to like using the word routine. But what is your morning ritual? What gets you out of bed that you're going to do that makes you feel alive, versus, okay, well, I got to check this off and this is my routine. And so when we get back to using the choice of words that we're doing, as you said, the container and the energy, and why is my mind went completely blank, but when the agreements, sorry. So I was going to get back to the agreements, but that is something important to say every time you start your circle that everyone in this room agrees to those, whatever your circle has agreed to, and either have them say I or raise their hand or however you want to do it. But that needs to be reminded, because we keep thinking, oh, we can do these things, or it's easy to do it. Even my daughter, we had a morning checkoff list that I forgot. It's been in the door for 2 years now, but it's something that they use to make sure they do all the stuff in the morning. And school year starts again, it's already up there. I forgot, she's there reading it, making sure she's doing all these things because it's already established. And so when we establish these things in circle, we need though to remind ourselves, even because we take breaks and stuff. And so this ritual and agreements and sacredness is really just about coming back to our essence. It's not necessarily religious, it's not woo-woo, it's about just who are we.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other aspect of circle that's important to remember is it can be very playful and very light and very fun. And almost the more we play, the deeper we get. It's sort of a paradox, but
So true. We lose that.
mhm.
And just to come back to that playfulness. And it's funny because at the dinner table we tried to do something we a success today, a struggle, and something funny that happened, and then and something we're grateful for when we gather as a family. But I struggle all the time with remembering what was funny for the day. And I think though, the more though we put that intention with that play and the fun of it all, then it starts to come out more, and then we start enjoying what we're doing, which again is the essence of it all. Which I think is bringing us to our time to wrap up together, because it's been so lovely having you. But as I was telling Aliza as we start, so first I'll just tell us how we can find you, Aliza, if people would like to.
So my name is, I don't know if it'll be on the recording, but Aliza Bloom. It's Aliza Bloom Robinson. And I have a website called AlizaBloomRobinson.com. I also have AlizaSpeaks.com that is a little bit more corporate speaking based, but there's lots of fun things there. And you can find me on Facebook, Aliza Bloom Robinson. I love connecting with new people. I am about ready to start a brand new, really edgy, disruptive, very sacred circle. So that will probably start at the 1st of October. So if you're interested, you can also reach out to Michelle and she'll connect you with me. Michelle, you have my permission to connect with any of your listeners.
Oh, well, I just have to stop for that minute, because also part of circle is the permission.
Yes.
I love that word, but it's always, like you said, when giving feedback, it's always asking permission. Don't assume anything. And I think that's a good practice in general for us, is not to assume, oh, Michelle will do this, but that, that it works, that it is that permission to make that connection. So I think that is just such an important aspect, and must have just come out to make that point right now.
I guess it just came out for that. Yes.
So please connect with Aliza. And you guys all know that I'm on connectingmamas.com. But as we are going to end, as Aliza started us with bringing this grounding, she's going to end this closing up this connection that we had together with all of us and those of you listening.
So let's just take a minute as we close and connect eye to eye, right? Like, look at Michelle, look at me. We're pretending to look at all of you who are watching, and just feel that heart connection that we've made. And then close your outer eyes and come into an appreciation of gratitude. One thing, one piece that you'll take away from this conversation, one idea, one inspiration. And just bring that into your awareness, just that can be your touchstone as we consciously close and dismantle this circle for this time. Again, with so much gratitude for all of you who are watching and listening, for Michelle, for the invitation for this moment. Take a deep breath in gratitude. And as you exhale, as you are ready, open your eyes and say, and so it is. And so we let it be.
Let it be. Thank you, everyone.